Welcome back, my friend. Today, we're starting a powerful journey together, not just about money, but about the emotions behind it. The thoughts we carry, the fears we avoid, and those quiet dreams we rarely speak out loud. Because money isn't just numbers on a screen. It's not just coins in your hand or papers in your wallet, it's behavior. It's mindset. It's the way we see the world and how we see ourselves. This episode is inspired by a book that's helped millions of people change the way they think about wealth, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. So take a slow breath with me. Let's begin. Let's walk into a story. There was a man in his 40s who lived in a quiet neighborhood. He didn't have a fancy car. He didn't wear expensive clothes, but he owned 5 homes, all paid off. His bank account was full and, most importantly, he had peace. He didn't show off, so people barely noticed him, but he was wealthy. Now, another man, same age, same city, drove a shiny sports car, lived in a big modern house, and traveled twice a year. But every month, he felt crushed by debt. His credit card balance made him anxious. On the outside, he looked rich, but inside, he was drowning. And that brings us to one of the most powerful lessons from this book. Wealth is what you don't see. Being rich is loud, but being truly wealthy, that's quiet. It's the savings you protect, the smart choices you make, the calm life you build. Because real wealth isn't about impressing others, it's about feeling safe inside. We all have a money story. And for most of us, that story begins long before we earned our first dollar. Maybe you grew up in a home where money caused stress. You remember your parents arguing about bills, or watching them worry if they'd have enough to get through the month. Or maybe for others, money was a symbol of power, a sign of success, or maybe money just wasn't talked about at all. But whatever you saw, whatever you felt, it shaped how you think about money today. Morgan Housel, the author of this powerful book, reminds us of something important. No one's crazy. What does he mean by that? He means every money decision we make, whether it's smart or not, comes from our personal experience, from what we've lived through, from what we believe. So before you judge someone for spending too much or saving too little, pause for a moment. They're not being crazy. They're just making decisions through a different lens. Think about this. Someone who grew up with nothing might want to spend more now, not because they're careless, but because for the first time they can. They're not wasting money. They're healing. That's why money is so emotional. Because behind every decision, there's a story. Let's pause for a moment and talk about 2 forces that affect every financial journey: luck and risk. Imagine 2 brothers. They start the same business, same idea, same effort. But one becomes a millionaire and the other shuts down after 2 years. Why? Was one smarter than the other? Not necessarily. Sometimes it's just luck, the right timing, the right person seeing your work at the right moment, and sometimes it's risk. A single unexpected problem, a health issue, a family crisis, a shift in the market can change everything. So what does this mean for you? It means you're not always in control of the outcome, but you are in control of your behavior. You can't force success, but you can build character, discipline, and resilience, and that is where your power lives. Let's go a little deeper. There's something hidden in everyday life that most people don't even realize is hurting them. It's the feeling of never enough. You buy a car, and for a moment, you feel proud. Until your neighbor drives home in a newer one, You get promoted, and you celebrate, until you see someone your age become a CEO. It never stops, because when you keep comparing yourself to others, you lose your own joy. Morgan Housel says something powerful here. Life isn't fun without a sense of enough. Think about that for a moment. What if you had everything you needed, but couldn't enjoy any of it just because someone else had more? That's the danger of comparison. It doesn't make you better, it makes you bitter. True wealth is not just having more. It's knowing when to stop chasing. It's learning to feel satisfied. It's being able to sit quietly with yourself and say, "This is enough for me." If you're always chasing more, you risk losing yourself along the way. So here's a gentle truth. Peace feels better than pride, and enough is a powerful word. Let's keep walking. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world, made over $80 billion after the age of 65. Did you catch that? Most of his wealth came after the age when many people retire. That wasn't luck. It was time. Because the real secret to building wealth is patience. It's not always about making the perfect decision. It's about making small, smart decisions over and over for a long time. That's the magic of compounding. Your money grows quietly, like a tree. You water it. You leave it alone. And one day, it gives you shade and peace, but only if you let it grow. Let's pause and reflect on something most people forget. Why are we in such a rush? Why do we want to get rich fast? Why do we panic when things take time? It's because we think we're falling behind. But you're not behind. You're just on a different clock. Morgan Housel says, "The single most powerful thing you can do is increase your time horizon. In simple words, stop thinking in weeks or months. Start thinking in years or even decades, because that's how real wealth is built. Slowly, calmly, without the pressure of needing results right now." Now here's another truth. Getting money is one thing. Keeping it is another. To get wealthy, you take risks. You dream big. You take action. But to stay wealthy, you have to be careful, a little cautious, even a little scared. That might sound strange, but it's real. The people who grow wealth and keep it are not just brave. They're humble. They know that success can disappear just as fast as it came. So what's the secret? It's a balance. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. That's how you stay strong, even when life throws surprises. Let me share one more idea that could change how you see success. It's called Tails, You Win. Here's what that means. In life, most of the big results, the breakthroughs, the lucky breaks, the life-changing moments, come from a few rare events. That one job that opened all the doors. That one connection that changed everything. That one small investment that grew big over time. Success often comes from just a few wins, not from being perfect every time. So don't worry about being right all the time. Just keep trying. Keep showing up, because one lucky break might be enough to change your entire life. Let's slow down now and talk about something that can save you. It's a simple idea, but it's powerful. It's called room for error. What does that mean? It means you don't walk right at the edge of the cliff. You give yourself space. You plan for the unexpected. Let's make it real. Imagine a man who earns $3,000 a month and spends $12,250. On paper, that looks fine. He's saving $50. Sounds responsible, right? But life is not paper. Life is surprises, illness, job loss, accidents, emergencies, and when something unexpected happens, that tiny $50 gap, it's not enough. He falls, not because he was irresponsible, but because he didn't leave room to breathe. Morgan Housel says it clearly. You have to plan for things not going according to plan, because that's life. So what do? You give yourself space. You live below your limit, not just at it. You leave a little extra, even if it's small. And that space? That's not just money. That's peace. Let me tell you a short story. There was a woman who earned less than her neighbors. She didn't wear designer clothes. She didn't go on big vacations. But when trouble came, she always had cash ready. She stayed calm when others were panicking. Why? Because she lived under her limit. She gave herself margin. She had room for error, and that gave her freedom. Now let's talk about that word, freedom. What does real wealth mean? Some people say it's having a big house, or driving the best car, or owning luxury things. But Morgan Housel says something different. He writes, "The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want today." That hits deep, doesn't it? Freedom of time. To say no when you're tired. To say yes when your family needs you. To work the way you want. To rest without guilt. That is real wealth. And you don't need millions to have it. You just need good habits, smart decisions, and peace in your heart. Let's keep going, my friend. Now we're going to talk about something most people overlook. It's simple, but powerful. Saving. Money is more powerful than earning more money. That might sound strange at first, but stay with me. Imagine this. One person earns $5,000 a month, but spends $4,900. Another person earns $3,000, but spends only $2,000. Who's richer? Not the one with more income, but the one with more savings. Because savings give you something income alone can't. Freedom. The freedom to rest. The freedom to make choices. The freedom to say no when something doesn't feel right. But here's the problem. Most people only focus on how much they make. They say, I'll save when I earn more. But Morgan Housel teaches us something else. Building wealth has little to do with your income or investment returns, and a lot to do with your savings rate. So here's the truth. Saving doesn't come from being rich. It comes from being wise, from being consistent, from living a little below your limit. Even small savings, over time, build strength. It's not the size of your salary, it's the size of your habit. Now let's talk about something quiet and dangerous. Ego. Ego tells you, buy the expensive car so they notice you. Wear the brand names so they respect you. Show them you've made it. But ego is expensive. And most of the time, it's empty. Morgan says it best. Wealth is what you don't see. You might see someone living in a big house, but you don't see their debt. You don't see the stress they carry. You don't see the sleepless nights behind the smile. True wealth is often hidden. It's in the quiet bank account, the simple lifestyle, the calm heart. So when you feel that need to impress, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this for me or for them? Because the people who are truly strong, they don't need to show off. They just grow. Let's keep walking. Now I want to share something you may have never heard before. You don't need a reason to save. Most people think saving is only for goals. I'll save for a car. I'll save for a house. I'll save for a vacation. And yes, that's great. Goals are important. But sometimes, the best reason to save is no reason at all. Just save, because life is unpredictable. Maybe your child gets sick. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe you just need a break, a few weeks to rest and breathe. If you only save for big dreams, you might miss the safety that quiet saving gives you. Saving is like building an umbrella. You may not need it today, but when the storm comes, you'll be so glad it's there. Let's reflect for a moment. When you save, you're not just saving money. You're saving your peace. You're saving your freedom to choose. You're saving your confidence in hard times. Every dollar you save is a quiet vote for your future. And here's the best part. You don't need to save a lot. Just start small, slow, steady, because slow is steady, and steady is strong. Let me tell you a short story. Two men lost their jobs. The first one had no savings. The bills came fast. His stress grew. He didn't sleep. He felt helpless. The second man also lost his job, but he had 6 months of savings. He took a deep breath. He focused on his health. He found a better job, and he came back stronger. What made the difference? Not luck, not talent. Savings. Because money doesn't buy happiness, but it can buy time. And time brings peace. Let's talk about something that's hard to accept, but deeply important. You can't predict the future. We all try. We make plans. We set goals. We look at what's worked before and hope it'll work again. But the truth is, life doesn't follow the past. Let me tell you a few real stories. In 1999, people thought tech stocks would rise forever. Investors poured in money, even borrowed more to join the wave. Then came the crash. Billions disappeared. In 2007, housing prices kept going up. People said, "It's safe. It always goes up." Then came another crash. Millions lost their homes. And in 2020, no one saw a virus stopping the whole world. No expert predicted that. So what does that tell us? History is not a map. It's a teacher, a story, a reminder, but not a guarantee. Morgan Housel says, the most important part of every plan is planning on your plan, not going according to plan. Let that sink in. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know everything. You just need to leave space for surprise. So how do you prepare? With flexibility, with humility, and with simple, strong habits that don't break when life does. Now let's go deeper, into something even more powerful than knowledge: emotional control. Here's a truth many people miss. Money doesn't just respond to how smart you are. It responds to how calm you are. You could have 3 degrees from university and still spend more than you earn. You could know everything about investing and still panic when the market drops. Morgan writes, doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. So if you want to win with money, don't. Just study numbers. Train your emotions. Be calm when things go wrong. Be steady when others panic. Be consistent when things feel uncertain, because emotional control is your greatest money skill. Let's talk about something most people never hear. Being average is powerful. Yes, average. Everyone wants to beat the market. Everyone wants to get rich fast. Everyone wants to stand out. But here's the truth most people miss. Trying to get big wins all the time often leads to big losses. The person who tries to double their money overnight might lose it all, but the person who earns average returns, saves consistently, and waits patiently ends up wealthier and more peaceful. It's not about being flashy, it's about being steady. Morgan Housel reminds us, compounding only works if you don't interrupt it. Think of it like a tree. You plant the seed, you water it, and then you wait. You don't dig it up every week to check the roots. You trust the process. That's how money grows too, quietly, over time. If you leave it alone and let it breathe, but panic kills compounding. Fear kills growth. The secret is patience. Let me tell you a quiet story. There was a young man who invested a small amount every single month. He didn't follow the news. He didn't check the market every day. He didn't try to be clever. He just stayed consistent. 30 years later, he had more wealth than most of his friends, not because he was the smartest, not because he made lucky picks, but because he was calm. He trusted time. He let his habits do the work. And the truth is, you can do the same. Let's talk about something that makes a big difference with money, but almost no one teaches it: humility. Most people fail with money, not because they don't know enough, but because they think they know everything. They make a few good decisions, and suddenly, they believe the rules don't apply to them. But here's the truth. The market doesn't care how confident you are. It cares about how prepared you are, and how consistent you stay when things go wrong. Morgan Housel writes, "The ability to stay humble when things go right and forgive yourself when they go wrong is key to longevity. That means you don't let success make you arrogant, and you don't let failure destroy you. You keep your head. You stay steady. You stay kind to yourself, no matter what happens." Now let's talk about another powerful quality: flexibility. The best investors, the most peaceful people, they're not rigid. They don't say, "This is the only way." They say, "This is my plan. But if the world changes, I'll adjust." They're not scared of change. They know that growth often comes from adapting, not from resisting. And that's not just about money, that's about life. The people who survive storms aren't always the strongest. They're the ones who can bend without breaking. Take a moment here and ask yourself, am I building a plan that only works when everything goes right? Or am I creating a life that can handle the unexpected? Can I survive a mistake? Can I stay calm when things don't go my way? Because that, right there, is real strength. Let's close this part with one simple idea. Wealth is not about perfection. It's about staying in the game. It's about building something strong enough to last through both the good days and the bad. And you, my friend, are more than capable of doing that. Let's take a deep breath and talk about something we all feel sometimes, but we rarely say it out loud: envy. You're scrolling on your phone. You see a friend on vacation. Someone just bought a new car. Someone else got a promotion. And suddenly, something stirs inside you. A quiet voice whispers, "Why not me?" That's envy, and it's sneaky. It doesn't shout. It doesn't always show, but it slowly steals your joy and replaces it with frustration. Morgan Housel writes something powerful here. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. Let that sit for a moment, because that's the trap, isn't it? You reach a goal, and suddenly, it's not enough. You earn more, but now it feels small. You succeed, but then you see someone doing better, and you feel behind again. The truth is, you're not behind. You're just distracted. And when your goals keep moving, you lose your ability to enjoy what you already have. Let me tell you a short story. There was a man who worked hard for years to buy his first home. He saved. He planned. He finally did it. For a moment, he felt proud. But then his friend bought a bigger house. Suddenly, the pride disappeared. Not because his home changed, but because his mind did. That's the power of envy. It doesn't change your life. It changes your lens. So how do we protect ourselves? We stop looking sideways, and we start looking within. We remember that life is not a race, and success is not a competition. Instead of chasing bigger, faster, louder, we choose peace. We choose contentment. We choose to celebrate what we already have, while building more, slowly and honestly. Let's finish this part with one question. What is your enough? Is it time with your family? A quiet home? A job that doesn't drain your soul? A debt-free life? Whatever your enough is, protect it. Because the world will keep shouting more, faster, better. But your heart needs something softer. Your soul needs peace. Not more, just enough. Let's slow down now and talk about something deeply personal. Your money story. Because whether you realize it or not, you carry a story about money inside you. A quiet voice, a memory, a belief that shaped how you think, how you spend, how you save, and how you feel. Maybe your story sounds like this. I grew up poor, so I'll never feel safe. I work hard, so I deserve everything I want. Money is evil. I'll never be good with money. Whatever your story is, it's not just about dollars. It's about identity, emotion, memory, survival. Morgan Housel says, "We all do crazy things with money because we're all trying to make sense of our own life experiences. So before you judge someone's choices, pause and ask, what story are they living through? And more importantly, what story are you living through? Maybe your story was about fear, or guilt, or pride, or scarcity, or proving yourself to others. But here's the truth. You can rewrite it. You are not stuck in the story you grew up with. You are allowed to build a new one, slowly, gently, honestly. A story based on peace, not pressure. A story based on clarity, not confusion. A story based on freedom, not fear. And that is power. Let's go one step deeper. Most people think wealth is just about numbers. How much you earn, how much you save, how much you invest. But behind every decision is a feeling. We don't make money choices with spreadsheets. We make them at the dinner table, in the middle of the night, with stress in our chest or hope in our hearts. So ask yourself, are my money choices coming from peace or panic, from wisdom or old pain? Because when you change your inner story, you change your outer results. And that's how quiet wealth begins. Let's talk about time. Not just the time it takes for money to grow, but the way we think about time. Because most people, they think short term. They ask, how can I feel better this week? What can I buy this month? How fast can I get results? But wealth, real wealth, doesn't follow that clock. It rewards the people who can wait, the ones who think in years, not days, in decades, not moments. Let's imagine two people. One, jumps from one thing to the next, a new job, a new idea, a new plan. They're always chasing. The other picks a path. It's not perfect. It's not always exciting. But they keep walking, one step at a time, day by day. After 10 years, who's further? Not the one who moved fast, but the one who kept moving forward, slow, steady, focused. Because the journey that lasts isn't always the loudest. It's the most consistent. Morgan Housel reminds us, endurance is more powerful than speed. That means you don't need to rush. You don't need to win this week. You don't even need to be the smartest in the room. You just need to show up. Keep going. Keep learning. Keep trusting that small steps lead to big change. And here's something else many people don't realize. Regret can be your teacher. A lot of people say, I wish I started saving earlier. I wish I didn't waste that money. I wish I made a better choice. And yes, those regrets hurt, but they don't have to keep you stuck. They can guide you. Morgan says, regret minimization is a good compass. So when you face a money decision, ask, will I regret this tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now? And let the answer lead you forward. Let's finish this part with one simple reminder. The person who thinks long-term stays calm, stays focused, and builds something real, one quiet, beautiful step at a time. Let's take a breath and talk about something we all feel, especially when it comes to money. Fear. Fear of failing. Fear of making the wrong decision. Fear of looking foolish. Fear of losing what we've built. And because of that fear, many people do nothing. They wait. They say, I'll save when I earn more. I'll invest when the timing is right. I'll start learning later, when things feel more stable. But that day, it rarely comes. Because perfection is a lie. It's just fear, wearing a nice suit. So here's the truth. You don't need to be fearless. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to take one small step, with the fear still in your chest, with your hands still a little shaky, with your voice still unsure. That's courage. Morgan Housel reminds us, courage is more powerful than intelligence, because courage actually moves you forward. Fear will always whisper, wait, but wisdom will say, begin. Let me tell you a simple story. Two people started with the same goal, to get better with money. One spent months overthinking. They read, they planned, but they never acted. The other, they started small, saved $10, read one article, listened to one podcast, set one tiny goal. Guess who grew faster? The one who started, not because they were smarter, but because they moved. And here's something even softer and deeper. You don't need to make a big move to change your life. Sometimes, just not. Quitting is enough. Just showing up. Just staying in the game. Just saying, I'm still here, I'm still trying. That's power. Let's finish this part with one reminder. You don't need the perfect moment. You need the present moment. Start small, start soft, start afraid, but start. Because waiting doesn't build wealth, doing does. Let's sit with this next idea for a moment. It's quiet, it's soft, but it holds a kind of strength most people never learn. Sometimes the best thing you can do with money is nothing in a world that says, act fast, buy, now. Hurry, before it's too late. There's something powerful about choosing stillness. Morgan Housel puts it beautifully. The ability to do nothing when everyone else is reacting is one of the most powerful financial skills. Why? Because most mistakes happen when we panic, when we rush, when we let fear control the wheel. But the person who stays calm, even in chaos, builds something stronger than wealth. They build peace. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who had been investing slowly month by month for years. Then the market crashed. Everyone around her started selling in fear. Her friends called her. They said, "Get out, save what you can." But she didn't. She took a walk, made a cup of tea, and didn't touch a thing. 10 years later, her account had doubled. Not because she did something brilliant, but because she did nothing when everyone else was panicking. That's wisdom. Let's reflect here. How many times have we made quick decisions, not because they were right, but because we felt pressure? That's how peace gets stolen. Because reaction is fast, but wisdom is slow. So here's the challenge. When things get loud, can you stay soft? When everyone rushes, can you pause? Because the calm person, they don't win with noise. They win with clarity. Morgan writes, "Compounding doesn't require great decisions, just pretty good ones, made consistently, and without screwing up too badly." That means you don't have to be a genius. You just need to be steady, stay in the game, stay out of panic, and trust that peace builds more than pressure ever could. Let's pause and talk about something that often gets ignored. Because it doesn't sound exciting, or new, or flashy, but it works. It's called simplicity. So many people think wealth comes from complicated strategies. They chase big ideas, big risks, big wins. But Morgan Housel reminds us of something quiet and wise. The most powerful financial plans are simple. Save regularly, spend less than you earn, invest patiently, ignore the noise. That's it. No tricks, no secrets, just calm, honest habits. But here's the problem. Simplicity feels boring. People want to feel clever. They want the new thing, the fast thing, the thing that makes them feel like they're doing more than others. But wealth? Real wealth isn't built from doing more. It's built from doing less. Wisely. Let me ask you this. Are you following strategies you don't fully understand? Are you copying advice from people you don't know? Are you always switching plans, jumping from one idea to the next? If yes, then pause, breathe, go back to simple, because simple is sustainable, and sustainable is what actually lasts. Here's something deeper. What if wealth isn't about doing more, but about doing less, with more care? What if your job isn't to keep adding more to your plate, but to remove the things that don't serve you? Because sometimes, growth isn't loud, it's quiet. It looks like saying no to things you don't need, turning off distractions, choosing rest, budgeting with honesty, showing up consistently, even when no one sees it. These don't feel like big moves, but over time, they build a big life. Let me tell you a story. A woman earned an average income, nothing fancy, no big breaks, but she did one thing right. She saved 10% of her income every month. She didn't change her plan. She didn't chase fast results. She just stayed steady. At retirement, she was a millionaire. People were shocked. How did she do it? She didn't do anything magical. She just didn't quit. Let's close this part with one last reminder. You don't need more tricks. You need more trust in the small, simple habits that work. Because the people who build wealth quietly are the ones who stay calm, stay clear, and stay consistent. Let's go a little deeper now. into something most people are chasing, even if they don't say it out loud. Independence, not the kind you post online, not the kind that makes people clap, but the kind that lets you wake up and say, I choose how I live today. Morgan Housel says, controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays. Think about that. Most people don't want millions just to have the money. They want the freedom they think it can buy, the freedom to rest, the freedom to say no, the freedom to say yes to what really matters, and that is true wealth. Let's pause for a moment. What are you working for? Not just bills, not just a car or a new phone, but really? What's behind your effort? Are you working for time with your family? For peace in your mornings? For the ability to breathe without financial pressure? Because when we slow down and listen, most people aren't chasing money. They're chasing a feeling. Safety, love, freedom, respect. But the world tells us, buy this and you'll feel better. So we do. And sometimes it helps. But often, it fades fast. That's why we need to talk about something gentle, but real, emotional spending. We buy things not because we need them, but because we want to feel seen, or loved, or successful, or simply better than how we feel inside. But here's the truth. Buying more won't fix what's missing inside, because peace doesn't come from more. It comes from enough. From clarity, from alignment, from living in a way that honors your values. Let me tell you a quiet story. A young man used to spend a lot. Every time he felt stressed or insecure, he'd buy something new. New shoes, new clothes, gadgets. But it never lasted. He felt good for a day. Then, empty again. So one day, he stopped. He sat down and asked himself, what am I really trying to feel? The answer? Confidence, connection, love. He started spending less, saving more, and investing in peace instead of possessions. He didn't feel cooler, but he felt stronger, and slowly. That changed everything. Let's finish this part with one quiet truth. Money is not the goal. Peace is. So the next time you're tempted to spend out of emotion, pause and ask, is this filling a need or covering a feeling? Because the richest life is the one where you feel whole, even when no one sees it. Let's talk about something real, something we all feel, especially in a world where everything is on display. The pressure to show off. You buy something nice. But it's not just for you. It's also for the people watching. The car, the phone, the house, the clothes. Somewhere deep inside, we want people to notice. We want respect. We want approval. We want to feel important. But here's the quiet truth. Real wealth doesn't need to be seen. Morgan Housel says, spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. That line stays with you because it's true. Let me tell you a story. A man walks into a cafe. He's wearing a gold watch, designer shoes, stylish sunglasses. Everyone stares. They whisper, he must be rich. But outside the cafe, parked in a simple car, sits another man. Eating quietly. No watch, no labels, no flash. But he owns 5 properties, all paid off. Who's wealthier, the one who looks rich, or the one who is rich but doesn't show it? Exactly. Wealth isn't loud. It's calm. It's quiet. It lives in savings, in choices, in peace of mind. Here's something deeper. We don't buy things to impress others because we're bad people. We do it because we want to feel seen. We want to feel worthy. We want to belong. But here's the problem. Most people aren't really looking. They're too busy thinking about their own lives. So you spend money trying to get applause from people who won't even remember tomorrow. That's the trap. Let me ask you gently. Have you ever bought something just to feel like you were enough? Not because you needed it, but because you wanted someone else to notice. Did it work? And if it did the feeling last, or did it fade the moment the attention disappeared? Because if your self-worth depends on other people's approval, you'll always feel one step behind. Let's end this part with one powerful reminder. Wealth is what you don't see. It's not what you post. It's not what you wear. It's not what sits in your driveway. It's what sits quietly in your savings, in your choices, in your peace. And that kind of wealth, it lasts. Let's talk about something so simple. Most people overlook it. Habits. Not the big ones you post online, not the ones that get applause, but the small ones, the ones you repeat every day, without anyone noticing. Morgan Housel writes, "You don't need tremendous force to build wealth. You just need to consistently not screw up." It sounds funny, but it's true. Wealth isn't about being brilliant. It's about being careful. It's about doing the right things regularly and avoiding the mistakes that could undo it all. Let's break that down. Most people don't go broke because of one bad day. They go broke from many small errors, repeated over time. Likewise, most people don't get rich from one lucky break. They build wealth by doing small things well, again and again. Like what? Saying no to things you don't really need, saving a little, even when it feels too small, investing quietly, not emotionally, avoiding panic when markets drop, sticking to your budget, cooking at home, thinking before you click buy. These aren't dramatic, but they're powerful because they compound, not just your money, but your mindset. Let me tell you a story. A woman lived on a modest salary, no high-paying job, no viral success. But every month she saved a small amount. She avoided debt. She didn't try to impress anyone. She just stayed consistent. Years later, she had more money, more calm, and more freedom than friends who made twice as much. Why? Because she didn't chase. She didn't panic. And she didn't quit. She just kept going. Let's pause here. You don't need to do something amazing. You don't need to be the smartest or the fastest or the richest. You just need to make fewer mistakes. You just need to stay steady. That means don't overspend, don't borrow for things that won't grow, don't try to look rich, don't let fear run your decisions if you can avoid the big traps, and stay loyal to the small wins. That's enough. That's how wealth grows. Let's finish this part with one quiet reminder. Small habits build strong lives. And the ones that don't get noticed are usually the ones that change everything. Let's slow down now and talk about something that's harder to measure but more valuable than almost anything else. Independence. Not financial freedom as a number, but freedom as a feeling. The freedom to live your day on your terms. The freedom to say no when you're tired. The freedom to say yes when your heart says go. Morgan Housel puts it like this. The ability to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want today, that's the highest form of wealth. Let that sink in, because that's what we're really chasing, isn't it? Not a bank balance, not applause, not trophies, but time, peace, control. Let's go deeper. Most people think they want more money, but what they really want is more respect. They think, if I drive this car, people will admire me. If I wear these clothes, they'll notice me. If I buy that thing, I'll finally feel successful. But here's the truth. Most people aren't thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves. So you spend to impress people who aren't watching and wouldn't care if they were. That's not wealth. That's noise. Let me tell you something personal and soft. Real respect doesn't come from what you buy. It comes from how you live. It comes from your character, your calm, your values, your ability to walk quietly when others are shouting. And that kind of respect, you don't need to earn it from others. You can give it to yourself. Let's reflect here. What if true success isn't about what others think of you? What if it's about how you feel when the day ends, when you're alone, when no one's clapping? Can you feel proud? Can you feel calm? Can you feel free? Because that's what lasts. Not the likes, not the comments, not the momentary approval, but the quiet life you build day by day in alignment with your truth. Let's finish this part with one gentle reminder. You don't need to be seen to be valuable. You don't need to be praised to be strong. You don't need to be loud to live rich. Real wealth is built in silence, and peace is what makes it whole. Let's talk about something that doesn't get much attention, but changes everything. Consistency. Not talent, not luck, not timing, just showing up again and again and again. Morgan Housel writes, "Good investing is not necessarily about making great decisions. It's about consistently not screwing up. That sounds simple, maybe even boring, but boring works. Let me give you an example. Two people both start with the same goal: to build wealth slowly. One gets excited, tries new strategies every week. They chase trends, buy and sell quickly, always looking for the next big win. The other? They build a habit. They save a fixed amount. They avoid hype. They stay in the game. 10 years later, the second person, the boring one, wins. Not because they were smarter, but because they were consistent. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who worked a quiet job. She didn't make a lot of money. She didn't know much about investing, but she saved 10% of her paycheck every month for 40 years. She didn't miss a month. She didn't panic when the market dropped. She just kept going, and when she retired, she was a millionaire. No magic, no secret, just quiet discipline. That's the strength of boring. Here's what most people miss. Success isn't about doing something huge once. It's about doing something small and right. Thousands of times. It's brushing your teeth every day. Not once for an hour. It's walking 20 minutes every day. Not running 10 miles once a year. It's saving a little every month. Not winning the lottery. Repetition beats intensity. Always. Let's finish this part with a reminder. If your life looks a little boring, a little repetitive, a little simple, that might mean you're doing things right. Because the most peaceful people, the most successful people, they aren't chasing chaos. They're building something quiet, something strong, something that lasts. Let's slow down and talk about something we see every day, especially on social media. Overnight success. Someone launches a business and makes millions. Someone goes viral and suddenly becomes famous. Someone posts their big win, and we think, wow, they made it. But what we don't see are the 10 years before that post, the nights they cried, the failures no one shared, the work they almost gave up on, because success isn't what it looks like, it's what it costs. Morgan Housel says, "You'll get closer to financial success by being reasonable and patient than by being coldly rational." That means you don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to stay in the room. Keep showing up. Keep doing the simple things. Keep making honest choices, even when no one sees them, because real growth is slow. And that's a good thing. Let me tell you a quiet truth. Fast things break. Slow things last. The trees that grow quickly, they snap in storms. But the ones that grow slowly, they bend, they hold, they stay. So if your progress feels slow, don't be discouraged. That might be the very reason it's going to last. Let me tell you a simple story. A young man started learning about money. He wasn't earning much. He didn't understand investing. He wasn't confident. But he made one promise to himself. "I'll do something small every day, even if no one claps, even if I don't see results yet." He started with saving $5, then $10. He watched one video a day, he read one page, he tracked his spending. Years passed. Quietly, he became stable, then confident, then wealthy. Not because of one big moment, but because of 1,000 small ones. Let's finish this part with one reminder: don't rush the roots, because slow growth, that's strong growth. It protects your peace. It builds your resilience. It creates wealth that doesn't fall apart when the wind gets loud. Let's take a deep breath together, because this next part is personal and powerful. Let's talk about something most of us carry, quietly and heavily: failure. We've all made mistakes with money: spending too much, not saving soon enough, investing in the wrong thing, buying something we didn't need just to feel better for a moment. And what happens after? We feel guilt. We feel shame. We say to ourselves, "I should have known better. I was stupid. I'll never recover." But Morgan Housel says something different. The trick is to be okay with a lot of things going wrong, so you can be right enough times to win. That means you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. Let me tell you a soft story. There was a man who lost a lot of money. He made a decision he thought was smart, but it wasn't. He lost his savings, and he lost his confidence. He told himself, "I'm not good with money. I can't be trusted with finances." And so he stopped trying, until one day he met someone who said, "You didn't fail. You learned something most people never learn, and you survived it." That moment changed him, not all at once, but slowly, gently. He forgave himself. He started again, smaller, wiser, quieter. And this time, he stayed steady. Let's pause here. Maybe you've made money mistakes too. Maybe you still carry them. Maybe they still hurt, but here's the truth. Those mistakes aren't the end. They're the beginning. They teach you what doesn't work, so you can move toward what does. And most importantly, you are allowed to start again. Start small. Start soft. Start with one tiny habit, even if it feels like you're beginning all over again. Because you're not starting from zero. You're starting from experience, from resilience, from quiet strength. That's more powerful than any perfect plan. Let's end this part with one gentle reminder. Self-forgiveness is part of financial wisdom. You're not supposed to get everything right. You're supposed to learn, to reflect, to grow. That's how you move forward. Not with shame in your chest, but with softness in your steps. Let's talk now about something quiet, but powerful. Something that touches almost everyone, but often goes unnoticed. Emotional spending. It's not about logic. It's not about need. It's about feeling. We feel tired, so we buy something to feel better. We feel insecure, so we try to look more put together. We feel bored, and something new feels exciting. We tell ourselves, I deserve this. It's just this one time. I'll start saving later, and maybe it works. For a moment. But then the feeling fades, and we're left with the bill, and the same emotions that were there before. Here's the gentle truth. Emotional spending doesn't heal anything. It only delays the healing. Morgan Housel reminds us, money is often used to fill emotional gaps that money can't fix. So instead of trying to escape the feeling, we pause, we breathe, we sit with it, and we ask, what do I really need right now? Because it might not be a new phone. It might just be rest, a walk, a talk with someone who listens, or a few minutes of silence. Now let's talk about something even deeper. Fear of loss. This fear keeps so many people stuck. They don't invest. They don't save. They don't change. They don't even try. Because what if it goes wrong? What if they lose everything? And yes, risk is real, but so is regret. Regret for never trying, for never growing, for never discovering what was possible. So what's the answer? Build calm habits. Habits that protect you, no matter what's happening around you. Like what? Saving before spending. Waiting 24 hours before a big purchase. Tracking your spending, gently, without judgment, investing slowly, without panic. Asking yourself, does this support the life I'm building? These small habits, they're your anchor. They hold you steady when emotions try to pull you away. Let me tell you a short story. A young woman struggled with overspending. Every time she felt overwhelmed, she'd buy something online. She didn't need more stuff. She needed something deeper. Peace. So she made a small shift. Before every purchase, she paused for 60 seconds. She placed her hand on her chest and asked, am I filling a need or escaping a feeling? That one habit changed her life. Not overnight, but over time. Slowly, softly, and with each pause, she gained a little more power, a little more clarity, a little more peace. Let's close this part with a quiet reminder. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to begin, again, without shame. Let your habits be your comfort. Let your calm be your plan, and let your peace be your guide. Let's sit down together now. One last time for this journey. You've walked with me through so many lessons, so many moments of clarity, moments of truth, moments of deep reflection, and now we bring it all home. Here's the truth we often forget. Money is never the real goal. Peace is. You don't want more dollars in the bank just to see them. You want what they offer: time, safety, choice, freedom, rest. You want the ability to say, I'm okay, I'm safe. I can breathe today. And that feeling? That's wealth. Let me tell you one last story. A woman in her 70s was once asked, what was your greatest investment? She didn't say real estate. She didn't say stocks. She didn't name a business. She smiled and said, I invested in patience, in quiet mornings, in handwritten notes, in dinners with my children, in forgiveness, In long walks with no rush, I invested in peace. And that answer, that was wealth. Because when everything else fades, what stays is how you lived, how you loved, how you treated yourself. So let me ask you now, what will your wealth story be? Will it be loud or soft? Will it be full of pressure or full of peace? Will it be about chasing approval or about building a life that feels right? Because here's what I want you to remember. You don't have to be rich to live rich. You just have to live with meaning, with care, with truth, and with love. Let's close this journey with a few soft reminders. Start where you are, not where the world says you should be. Save a little, even when it feels too small. Spend with intention, not emotion. Forgive your past and learn from it. Be proud of quiet progress, not loud results. Keep walking forward, even slowly. And always remember, peace is your prize. Thank you for walking this path with me. Thank you for listening deeply. Thank you for choosing to grow, with patience, with softness, and with strength. This wasn't just a podcast about money. This was a podcast about you, your values, your calm, your life. So as you leave today, I want you to know you are already building wealth. Every time you choose peace over panic, purpose over pressure, and simplicity over show. Keep going, my friend. You've got this, and I'm proud of you. Until next time. Stay steady, stay soft, stay wise. You're already wealthier than you think.